see. Hoping there will be audio.
There's one waiting. Oh, you're on.
Oh, we are. Oh, there you guys are. You're piling in now. Hope you got audio. You guys have audio? Oh, hello, everyone. Hope you're hearing me. Good deal. Thanks. Well, hello. Where you guys? Look at that. Everyone is piling in here. New Brunswick, Phoenix, Portland, Maine, or Oregon. Hey, Cynthia. Illinois, St. Louis. I love it. San Diego. What's the good word? Surfing bird. Eastern PA. Miami. Ohio. Look at that. Indiana. Texas. Minneapolis. You guys in Japan. And then Japan. Ooh, that's so cool. Brisbane. Canada. We got a total international crowd in here today. Look at that. That's fun. Boston, Jersey, Ohio, Melbourne, Tulsa. How fun. Tennessee. How are things in Tennessee, Brett? I want to go back. I want to go back to Tennessee. Love Tennessee. Chicago. Somebody pointed out my accent recently from because I'm from Detroit, but I haven't lived there in many years. But I think I still hear my Chicago coming out. My Chicago. I was there about 9 years, but I still hear that in my own voice. I don't know if there's a Detroit accent really. Vancouver. Look at you guys all over the place. Princeton, Tampa, and Britain. Hello, Ian in Britain. Murrieta, California. Hey, Charlie. You guys must have got some rocking and rolling earthquakes not that long ago. The entire planet said hi. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I just figured I haven't done this in a long time, but I haven't hopped on this on your live chat, and somebody asked me, why don't I do that more often? So I just figured I would do that. So I wrote down a couple of things that I figured I would talk about for a little while, a little bit of all over the place, but I just figured I could dip into some of that and send. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shout out. I will go to I'll have to go back every once in a while in the chat because it moves pretty fast. Even though I did try to slow it down, it does move pretty fast for me. For us old timers. Excuse me. I was in LA not that long ago and had a really nice dinner with some friends. My friends Kat and Todd Fisher, who are Debbie Reynolds. Todd is Debbie Reynolds' son, and Carrie Fisher's brother. And Catherine Hickland is a hypnotist, mentalist. They've been married for quite a long time. I've stayed with them in Vegas. I met them through Jordan. Anyway, we had dinner not that long ago, this week actually, at the Magic Castle, which was just really fun. And Carrie Fisher Todd has, Debbie Reynolds started the whole collecting Hollywood memorabilia thing in the 70s, way before anyone was doing it. And being that no one was really sponsoring her, taking her seriously, she couldn't open up a proper museum, and she had people around her that took advantage of her. So she ended up having to sell off a lot of her collection. But Todd Fisher he's an archivist, he's a historian, and he still has so much stuff. So it's exciting. And Todd has a lot of Carrie Fisher stuff that he's put on display at the Reagan Museum in Simi Valley. And that's going to be out there for only about another month, I think. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. We're hoping to see that in the next week or so. But I know that he has a lot of the original Carrie's Star Wars stuff. The throne room, and he has the bikini, the Jabba the Hutt bikini thing, and scripts. And he says that Debbie Reynolds, Carrie didn't have a lot of sentimentality with all these things, and she just dumped stuff out, and Debbie's the one who would grab it and say, "No, you're not throwing that out. I'm hanging on to that," because she knew what was what. So anyway, Todd collected all the Carrie Fisher stuff and is on display at the Reagan Museum. So I'm excited to see that. I've seen some of it when I visited them, but I'm looking forward to seeing the collection on display because I understand they did a spectacular job putting it together. Edith, Head, are you in here? Do you remember that? My friend from Japan in here is talking about my EVP, my I guess it's known by people, my Edith Head EVP. It's funny, I was at David Oman's house, who has the house on Cielo Drive that's haunted just down the street from where the Tate house was. And I was there on Halloween, and these ghost paranormal investigators there, really an interesting group of people I've never met before. And I was only up there for about 45 minutes. And I was, just figured, oh, I'm going to be this expert. And I would say, oh, I'm going to play you my EVP from Edith Head at Paramount Studios. And I said this when I asked the question, I got that audible answer. I said, "You're not going to believe this. Isn't this the coolest thing?" And I'm trying to impress them. And they're like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then they pull up some of their own EVPs, and they're practically conversations they're having with people. And I'm like, well, I guess my stupid little Edith Head beep doesn't really count, but those guys were really good. Thank you, Allison. Thanks for the tip, the super chat tip. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Hit the like button for Scott. Thank you, funny girl. No Halloween plans. I've just got a friend. We have a friend they haven't seen in a long time. She's coming to visit, and I got one of those 15-foot skeletons, and we always have post pictures of them. I actually don't really post pictures of them, but we have the skeletons posed around the house, crawling on the roof and stuff like that. We enjoyed that, but no plans for Halloween really. Last year I went to Zoltar. We went to a party. And I got to say, my costume was pretty good, I think. But I had to cheat a little bit because I had to get a Zoltar box. And that was something I did buy. But I lit it up on my own. And I got my own Zoltar costume. So I was Zoltar for Halloween last year. Maybe I'll be Zoltar again this year. Did you watch Monster Menendez? I wanted to tell you I saw on YouTube that they're remodeling the house. You should swing by and see if you can get a souvenir. I watched episode 1 of the Menendez thing that's on Netflix now, and I've really seen enough. All I need to see. I think that, well, I've never made my opinion about those two a secret. I don't usually harp on it, but I don't. They are where they should be. That's, I guess, is what I can say. And the way they were demonstrating in the movie, the murders are pretty gruesome. Actually, I was impressed with the accuracy of the injuries. The one thing that bugged me about the show is that they were saying that they wanted to eradicate their parents' faces, and they literally did do that with their weapons. But they were making this point that the kids wanted to see them disappear or something. And in real life, the first shot hit Jose in the back of the head and killed him instantly. But for dramatic effect, they demonstrate it to be, that was the head wound was well after they started it. So it was taking liberties like that and trying to paint that scene that I didn't think necessarily needed any embellishment, or I don't know. I just think they are where they belong. And I feel pretty strongly about that. Actually, I did a documentary, ended up being on Fox Nation, so you had to pay to see it. But I really liked the documentary. I thought it was pretty well done, and they interviewed some interesting people, including the prosecuting attorney, and they interviewed several people. But I just think it's kind of funny that Eric Menendez is releasing statements that he finds that the betrayal of the Menendez brothers vile. Yeah, it's full of blatant lies. It's like not like those two. So I'm not going to watch it anymore. One episode was well enough for me. I was well done after I watched the one episode. What we did binge yesterday was that new Amazon Prince Andrew documentary. They had one on Netflix already, but Amazon Prime just released it about the awful interview that he did about Jeffrey Epstein. So I liked that. I thought that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Hey, Nancy in North Carolina. My goodness, gotta go back. Gotta go back. Gotta go back. There we go. Magic Castle is good fun. Magic Castle was very, very good fun. It's all full. It's like an Escher painting, this thing, or an Escher drawing, because it's all secret staircases and bars and shows, and around every corner something really weird. And they have a haunted piano that plays, and I don't know. It was a really wild place. Really a wild place. Uh, Jim Gowdy, you asked about David Ullman's house. I would imagine if it's really haunted. Yes, it is really haunted. You don't have to believe it, but it is. It is haunted. I don't need to convince you. I mean, I don't feel the need to convince you or to argue about it, and I don't want to sound confrontational because that's not at all what I mean by saying this. But David's house is haunted. It just is. I've been there, and I've seen it enough for myself. So, yeah, if you see, I did an interview with David on my YouTube channel, and not that long ago, and I liked the interview. It was good, and not too many crazy paranormal things happen, but just regular, batteries draining instantaneously stuff happened. So David's house is haunted, 100%. And I think that whole canyon, I've said it a million times, all of Benedict Canyon, I think is got issues personally. Edith Head is my hero, seriously. Tomas, hey man, thank you from lovely Sunrise, Florida. Tomas, nice to see you in there. Tomas is the guy who sends all the wonderful artifacts and books and record albums and the crazy art that's on the packages. That's my buddy Tomas, and he's been very kind and very generous sending his stuff. And I'm in the Busby Berkeley book now. That's what I'm delved into at this moment. That one, and I'm reading the Googies one too that my friend Patrick sent me on the Diner Googies from LA. The Ryan Murphy, you were saying Walrus Onion. You were saying that Ryan Murphy's Dahmer show was a disappointment. I wasn't that into it so much, and the Cunanan thing was pretty good too. I guess he's hitting up he's doing Ed Gein next. Oh, I don't know if that's I don't think it's Ryan Murphy actually, but the next American Crime Story or something is doing Ed Gein, starring the guy Charlie Hunnam that played Jax, I think, in Sons of Anarchy. He's going to be playing John Gein or Ed Gein, but I'm not sure if that's going to be a Ryan Murphy thing because they make it no, probably not. Ryan Murphy, his shows. Somebody described it. And it's so true. His shows, his series. If there are 6 episode series, you get into 4 of them. They're really, really good, and the last 4 fall apart. You end up having to watch the last one 3 times to figure out what he was trying to do. But they look good, and it's always the women look like they're, these amazing divas. So yeah, he's got a style. He's 100% got a style. Are you going to get the results of there's an autopsy for Tito Jackson? I don't think I can because Tito died in Texas, I believe. So those aren't available to me, little old me here in California. Hello, Liam from Dublin. Thanks, Tim. I'm glad you liked the tour. I appreciate that. I miss doing those tours. Did they really play Milli Vanilli? I've never heard that before in my life. They played Milli Vanilli at the Menendez funeral. There were a couple of things that were just like, yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know. So I can't say for sure. I've never heard that, and I've read a lot about those guys, and watched a lot of documentaries. Never once have I heard that, but I might. It's possible, I guess. Pickering, Ontario. Hello there. Have I ever talked to Anthony DeMaria? No. He is J.C. Bring's nephew. No. That was one of the other things I was going to mention is that J.C. Bring's salon on Fairfax sold and probably going to be torn down. I did that video about it not that long ago, and we got to do a walkthrough of it. But the studio, I'm sorry, the salon has been sold, and by a conglomerate or corporation with a bunch of business people that invested in it. So more than likely, the JC Brink Salon will be destroyed. I'm sure it will be because it's a pretty old building and it's not really. It comes with a lot of land. I think they bought a lot of land around it, which just means that they're going to tear it down and build something big. So that's the LA way. So I'm not saying that to be, oh, it's probably going to get torn down, but it's just logic. It will be torn down. I'm positive of that. What are some of the other Imperial Gardens, which is called Pink Taco now, which is such a vile name for a restaurant. Um, it also was the Roxbury, and that place, it was next to the Chateau Marmont, that just got sold, and that's going to be destroyed. It's funny about the Sunset Strip, how little of it's left. They finally agreed on the design for the building that's going to take place, that's going to take this place at the Viper Room. So that finally, I'm surprised the Viper Room is around as long as it has been. I was under the impression that it was going to be, that whole block was going to be gone by now, but it got a reprieve for about another year. But they've approved the design for the building. It's going to go and replace that city block where the Viper Room is, which is the last really intact block of the Sunset Strip, of the main part of the strip, across from the Whiskey A Go Go, where you could take a picture from the 1940s and hold it up, and it still looks much the way it did then. So it's infuriating, which is one of the reasons I miss living in LA a lot. I miss the access to doing stuff. I miss that very much. And I like going back and leaving, after a day or two. And when I read about things like the Viper Room, this project, or the Imperial Gardens, which is going to be torn down, I'm not as sad as I would be if I lived there, because I'd have to sit and look at it the whole time and watch it being taken away little by little by little by little, which is agony. When I was doing some research recently, I did a video this week about Pee Wee Herman's grave, Paul Ruben's grave, and I'm working on one right now of Ava Gabor and Zsa Zsa Gabor. Excuse me. And I was up at Zsa Zsa's house because I wanted to find out if Zsa Zsa Gabor's house was still there, the house that she lived in for decades. And I went up there. A lot of us went up there when the Zsa Zsa estate sale was happening and bought a ton of stuff. And I bought the cane, Zsa Zsa's father's cane. The Gabor's father had a walking stick, and my friend Taylor told me that it was available, so I got it. And I took the cane back to Zsa Zsa's house, but I don't know if the house was still there. So I just happened to talk to a guy who was standing there. His name was Jason. I go, "Do you work here?" Because there's so much building going up down in Bel Air, houses being torn down like crazy. And he goes, "Are you Scott? Are you Scott?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I watch your videos." And he, we got to talking, and he showed me his phone. He was like just watching my videos like 2 hours earlier. And inside, he's a photographer, a drone photographer for real estate, and he had his drone with him. And he says, "Do you want to see what's at Zsa Zsa's house now?" So I said, "Sure." And so he flew the drone above where Zsa Zsa's house used to be. Obviously, it's not there anymore. And he gave me the footage, and it was like the coolest thing. He also let me use his Betty White footage in the video I just released a couple of days ago, of the drone footage of Betty White's house. So it's cool. I got to meet a new friend, and he's like, "Do you ever want drone pictures? Let me know." And I'm like, "Cool." So I got to meet a new friend who volunteered to do some cool stuff. So I'm excited about that. So. And I don't know if you saw this. We were talking about J. Sebring's salon a second ago. There's a pair of J. Sebring's cufflinks for sale right now on eBay. And it was back in Detroit, a friend of Jay's who used to work with him at Grinnell's. And Grinnell's was a piano, like a music store, but high end stuff. And Jay worked there in the 50s. And this person worked with him, and I guess his father got Jay's cufflinks and wore them to Jay's funeral in Detroit, because there was one in LA and there was one in Detroit. And anyway, these cufflinks are now available, and they're like 15. He wants 15 grand for them, which is like, yeah, fine. No, that's not going to happen. But it was kind of a cool thing to see. So look up J. Sebring's cufflinks on eBay if you want to see it. He wrote a whole sort of 2 paragraphs about his family, and there's pictures, black and white pictures of he and his family. He says his father was a pallbearer at Jay's funeral, and he had slipped and almost fell on the steps while he was carrying Jay's casket, and it's a fascinating listing. So I was like, well, good for him. So I hope he gets his 15 grand or whatever. I wish I could have the couplings, but that there you are. That's just the way it is. Wow, I'm way far behind. Oh, Susie, thank you so much. That is very, very generous and kind of you. Thank you very much. Wow, I appreciate that. That's very much appreciated. Oh, hey Ricardo. Hey Ricardo. Leslie Van Houten. You'd like to know how Leslie Van Houten's doing? I would too, actually. I think that's part of the deal. She disappeared when she's out. I think that's part of the deal. When Leslie got paroled, I think they just left. She just made a deal. She will never be seen again. Do I think the price is fair for Jay's Sebring's cufflinks? I suppose. I mean, I'll tell you, if they put them up on Julian's auction, they're not going to get 15 grand for them. I personally don't think so. Are they worth it? No, I personally don't think so. If I had 15 grand to spend, I wouldn't spend them on a pair of cufflinks. But it's a curiosity. I think if you're going to put 5 grand on them, I'm not going to buy them, but I think that's reachable. I think that's fair. But 15 is a bit silly, I think. Oh, somebody's from North Wales. Yeah, I'm so slow at this. Wow. I'm way slow. Oh, way back there. Okay. Mausoleum in a certain cemetery needs some serious repairs. Yes. Any word on whether the Grandview Cemetery? I don't know what they've done. That video I did at that mausoleum, this was in such poor shape. In Glendale, Grandview Cemetery. I haven't. Next time I go to LA, I'll have to try to stop in there because I'd like to see if all they've done is thrown a lock on it. I am sure they haven't done anything really, and it's so sad because I know so many people that would just love to go and help out and clean it up and straighten it out. But because of legalities, they wouldn't let anybody in there because of insurance and yeah, I just it's all those. You can't do anything anymore, can you? Because of repercussions. If something happened, you can't. It's just sad because I know just people would love to volunteer to do that. And it's funny because I don't know, people don't appreciate that. There's a guy that has a pet cemetery out here. I did a video about it a year or so ago of where Liberace's dogs are and and Gerald Ford and met the guy there and talked to him for a while, and it's in really bad shape, but he was out there with a weed whacker trying to, it was his father's business, and he's really proud of it. And we're like, well, let me know. We'll get it together. We'll get a bunch of people here together and we'll be happy to help out, to go clean it up, and we'll pitch in and buy grass seed if you need it or something. And he's like, yeah, okay. So gave me his email address, nothing. I sent another email, nothing. I sent the letter, nothing. So that'll never happen. And it's sad because it could have. So people don't understand that, people are willing to step up and do something. And they just don't appreciate it. Yeah, you're talking about Marilyn Monroe's house. Marilyn's house it's got a reprieve. It's not saved to save, but I think that they put a reprieve on it. I think it's not an official historic landmark yet, but they've held off the demolition. That's what I understand. Yeah, Lilia Jericho, you asked about Sharon Tate at the El Coyote, and Deborah Tate said she didn't go to the El Coyote. I did a whole video on the El Coyote, and I talked to this retired Craig Harvey, who was the retired chief of special investigations for the LA County coroner, and we went over all of their autopsy reports in detail, what was in their stomachs, and we talked very frankly about what could have happened that night, and is it possible that they went to the El Coyote, even though nobody saw them there. 100 people claimed they'd been asked along. but there were no witnesses. Even the waitress that supposedly waited on them couldn't identify them. So there's no proof they ate there, and it's not absolute that they didn't. But the science of it is really interesting. If you go to that El Coyote video I did, it's worth getting into it. I think I was proud of that video. I thought it was really done well, and Craig was a super person to understand this stuff, because he himself was with the coroner's office, LA County coroner, for many years, and he was inspired to get into it because of the Tate-LaBianca murders, because it was such a fascination, and that's what inspired him to get into the science of it, which I thought is fantastic. How much are you bidding on for Jay's salon chair? I don't think there are any salon chairs left that were actually of Jay's. Well, I'm way back there. I'm with them. Derek, I told you about the great movie ride at Disney World. I did one of your last Helter Skelter tours. Finally hooked up with David Oman and toured the house in April. I'm glad you did. Thank you, Derek, and thank you for the super chat tip gift. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you hung out with David. He's such a good guy. David's a good guy. Do you have a tiki bar or room? This is just a tiki bar in our home. Will I ever move back to Los Angeles? Doubtful. I tell you, I was talking to Jason the other day, and I just said, if there was a way I could get a house up in Laurel Canyon, which I love Laurel Canyon. I love the history of it. I love the fact that you feel like you're in a forest. If there was a way to get into LA and go to a place where you can shut the door and not feel like you're in the middle of it, like Laurel Canyon, up in the hills, I think it could be a lot more easy to deal with. Of course, life is easier when you're rich, isn't it? I mean, and I don't mean that in a shitty way or a resentful way. It's just that if you can afford to live there, you can afford to live well, then I would move back there, but you just can't. So, or, it's not in the cards for me anytime soon. We'll say that. I did know that Rick James was was friends with Jay, and I do know that Rick claimed to have been invited to the house. I think he's the one that had the headache or a hangover. What was in Benedict Canyon before folks lived there? Indian burial grounds. I don't think it's a burial ground per se, but there was an Indian battle that took place there that Indians were killed in. And Benedict Canyon, there's a plaque commemorating that. Benedict Canyon is the main thoroughfare that goes from Los Angeles to the valley. So if people died there, there was at least one battle which a few people died, Indians died in. So I wouldn't say ancient Indian burial ground, but it's possible the Indians are buried there. It's possible. Will I be? Oh, Blair, you asked about adding more clients to Find a Death. Findadeath.com actually I just updated a Pee Wee Herman story today, and I'll be working on that a bit more. So Find a Death, yeah, for the first time in quite a long time, there's a new story on findadeath.com, which is like 30 years. Wait, 26 years old. Yeah, I started it in 1998. So 26 Find a Death is. So Pee Wee's there now, and more will be soon. Have you been to the Carrie Fisher house? It doesn't exist anymore. Billy Lord tore it down, which was Edith Head's house, funny enough. Or if she didn't tear it down, she heavily remodeled it so it looks nothing like it did when Carrie lived there. And I wasn't there. I've never went there when Carrie was there either. Ooh, my goodness. Thanks, Jeff. I'm glad you liked the Cary Grant. Oh, you worked there, the Blackhawk. Interesting. The people there were very nice. When I was doing that Cary Grant video and I went from the theater to the Blackhawk Hotel, I figured I went in there with my camera, I was going to get kicked out. And I talked to the guy and I said, I'd just like to take some video of it. I'm doing some, a little bit of footage about Cary Grant. So yeah, go ahead. It's a very nice hotel. And I was expecting to not be welcome, but they're very, very nice. Thank you. Hey, Nancy. Oh, Jordan. I think yeah, I think today was that funeral of that guy, Matthew, Matthew Roberts, the guy who I met him probably 20 years ago, who claimed that he was Manson's son. And then there was DNA issues and there was arguments and am I not? DNA proved it wasn't. But anyway, Matthew seems to have been when I met him, he was wearing the black trench coat and he had the Manson makeup on and the whole Marilyn Manson kind of feel with the rock chicks and they were doing a documentary on Manson being his dad. And then I've known Michael Channels, who was, technically Manson's heir by will. And then the other one, Jason Thingy, that claims he is, but not in a will. And but he was part of it. Matthew was part of it. And then it was turned out that his DNA doesn't match Manson, so he never was Manson's son. But anyway, Matthew died a couple of weeks ago. I guess he had respiratory problems or something, lung issues. So I believe there's a memorial for him today, and I think Jordan's there in LA doing that memorial. Oh, hi, Ann. I see Ann. We're talking about Jordan. Here's Jordan and Jaws buddy, Ann. No collaboration scheduled with Jordan, although when I was in LA the last time, Jordan and I did something at Raquel Welch's house, so I'll be doing something using that footage. Any creepy stories about Cincinnati, Ohio? No. Cincinnati, Ohio is my favorite Connie Smith song. I read Roman Polanski and Sammy Davis Jr. missed the flight home, so missed the party at the house that night. Okay. Children of God cult, not to my knowledge off the top of my head. I know a little bit about the Fountain of the World cult that was by the Spawn Ranch that Manson was involved with, but I don't know Children of God. It seems like I just read something about them. The other one I was working on recently was The Source, which is used to have that vegetarian restaurant over on Sunset. And maybe that's Children of God. Maybe that's The Source. Maybe it was them. And it's another place that's going soon. It's going to be torn down soon. That cool little old restaurant on Sunset Boulevard, which is amazing. It's lasted this long. It's like a little tiny shack now amongst all these other really modern buildings, but it was this cool little tiny shack of a restaurant. The last incarnation was the Cabo Cantina, and it's going to be torn down. But that was The Source, so maybe that's the one. And that's I have done some research on that one. If that's what it was called. Has the Los Feliz property sold? I don't think so. We're talking about the murder house in Los Feliz, which, if you pronounce it properly, be Los Feliz, but it isn't ever pronounced properly. And that's the Perelson murder house that was they call it the murder house in Los Feliz, and it was bought by Gloria Allred's daughter and gutted, and then she sold it. So I don't know. It's another one I should stop by and see. Are you a collector of Criterion Collection editions of movies, given their beautiful transfers? No, I'm not. I don't have my Zoltar with me. I can't. I can't. Mark Bolan. Don't go to Barnes. I have to look at that. The Criterion Collection. I've always heard about it, but I don't know. Is the house on 3301 Waverly, the LaBianca house, sold again? I think there are residents there. I think they've had it for a couple of years. Yeah, I don't know who they are, but somebody does live there now. Shout out to Jordan for Matthew Roberts Memorial, RIP. Yeah, I agree, Jamie. You're talking about the destruction of the Columbia Ranch. The Columbia Ranch was owned by Warner Brothers most recently, and that's where all that cool old street was with the Bewitched house and the I Dream of Jeannie house and the Blondie. I think they called it the Blondie Street, and this is where the Friends Fountain was, and uh, they just some wonderful houses that were used in tons of movies. A pool that shows up in everything, and they tore down that whole building, the whole street gone. And what really sucks is they didn't tell anybody. And it's like, want to see it one last time, and what's the harm of that? What's the harm of that? Just to have some people come in there for nostalgia, but there just isn't. There just isn't any nostalgia. That's just the way it is. No, that was sad. Really, really sad. I'm glad I did get to park in the Bewitched driveway once. I got to drive on the lot and drive through the street and pass all the houses and pull up into the Bewitched house and walk to the Bewitched front door. That was really cool. I wish I took a video of that. I've got images, but not video. What was my Sunset Boulevard? I think it was called the Viper Room being destroyed. You're asking that. I think that's what you're talking about. The video I did was on the last walkthrough of that block. I went every storefront. I went front and behind. So I did look up the Viper Room. Yeah, we still own the Mansfield car for sure. Where am I living now? Out in the desert near Palm Springs. I wish I could go to the James Dean Festival. It's coming up. I really do. I wish I was there. I wish I could be there for that. The new museum. I mean, the brand new James Dean Museum, I should say it's new location. They had a house that was the Fairmount Historic Society Museum. And then there's the James Dean Gallery, which is a few blocks away. That there's a lot of Jimmy stuff too, and you can buy some really cool stuff there too of James Dean. Just really neat Jimmy items. But the museum just reopened in its new location, and they have like Jimmy's first car, and they have Jimmy's the tractor that he used, and they redid his, because like Jimmy's house, it wasn't a shrine. The Winslows, who still live in the same house that Jimmy lived in, it wasn't a shrine to Jimmy, but they just left things alone. And so Jimmy's bedroom, all the furniture was still there. It was a storage room for a while, and Marcus Winslow's kids were using it. So it wasn't like it was, a shrine that they kept closed with music and candles. But they took everything that was Jimmy's out of that room, and they recreated Jimmy's bedroom in the new museum, which is so cool. So it's clear that it's done really, really well. I've seen a lot of pictures of it. I want to see more, but I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I really, really looking forward to getting back to Fairmount one day. I am all over this. I'm way down. I like my shirt. My friend Neil sent me this. Matthew, I mean, maybe he did think that Manson was his father. He probably did, but see, I guess what used to bug me about him is that he had a band, and it was called New Rising Sun, and he was doing the Manson eyes, and it's just okay, fine. Maybe he was. I just did not warm to him, but he was a friend of Jordan, so I'm not being nasty. I just didn't. It's not somebody I warmed to, but a lot of people did. A lot of people are devastated because of his death. So I apologize. No, I'm not going to apologize. I just don't. He wasn't a friend of mine. He was somebody that I met, and he was a really nice guy to me. And so I don't mean anything nasty by that. No, the woman from Wonderland who survived, nobody knows what happened to her, the Wonderland murders. Yeah, so I don't know. Oh, that's going to be another one that they're doing. I think there's going to be a documentary on the Wonderland murders soon. That should be pretty good. I don't know if you guys have seen that video I did, Mike Dorsey and I did, of the walkthrough of the Wonderland house when we got in it, and we took the original crime scene footage and matched it up. And that was a good video. That's a really, really good video. But what's my most prized possession? It's hard to narrow that down. It really is. But of course, the most outrageous is the J Mansfield car and Mae West's teeth. Those are pretty outrageous. Do I believe Stay on Main is haunted? Yes. Stay on Main, aka the Cecil Hotel. Yes, haunted. Absolutely haunted. Bad haunted. Like, like I was rushing for the holy water when I got out of that place. That was not good. That's something it just obviously felt bad. And that happened in Wonderland too. When I was in the Wonderland house, it was like I got to get out of here now. And the Cecil Hotel was like that too. But I got paid for the Cecil. I didn't get paid for Wonderland, so I stuck around at the Cecil. But that was for the Ghost Adventures show. What are you saying about? I found a uniform sew-on patch from the sheriff's department that worked on the LaBianca murders. Is that a find or a keepsake? Well, yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I'm losing a lot of comments. Sorry, because I'm moving so slow on this. I wish they had done a bit more publicity on that James Dean Museum, but they're getting it ready for the big weekend. Fairmount, the weekend, Jimmy's anniversary is coming up of his death on the 30th. So they're doing in Fairmount the big James Dean annual festival. So it went to go with that, the opening. But they got very little press about it. Very little. Oh, so you went to the El Coyote today, tour bus driver. Cool. I love that place. Was just done, I think, was it Barney's Beanery not that long ago too? I love Barney's Beanery. I haven't talked to Joanna Pettit about Lunch with Sharon. I'd like to, but see, the thing about people like that is I would love to talk to them, but they're probably not going to want to talk to me, and certainly probably not about the things I want to talk about. But something I thought about pursuing. Well, there's a couple of people I thought about pursuing, possibly doing a drive around LA with for a video. There's a couple of people I'd like to do that for. Oh, that was the other thing. San Fernando, two stories. You were talking about Scott Thorson. So Scott Thorson died, if you guys know that. But Scott Thorson, who was Liberace's boyfriend, who sued Liberace for, they coined the term galimony back when that happened. And he was also involved with the Wonderland murders because he knew Eddie Nash. So anyway, Scott Thorson died really recently. And he's one of those people I would love to have met and chatted with. That would have been really cool. Uh, and it's odd because Scott Thorson, pardon me, itchy. Scott Thorson sued Liberace while Liberace was still alive because they were in a relationship, and although he was had issues with substance abuse. Scott Thorson did a lot of substance abuse, and he dragged Liberace. It was an ugly lawsuit because Liberace wasn't out, quote unquote. People that he never said he was gay, and so it was very ugly. It was very very ugly. And then Liberace died, and it was AIDS was part of the was the cause of death. And I think that Scott Thorson, well, anyway, getting into all of that business, Scott Thorson did die, and the Liberace Foundation actually released a statement saying, rest in peace. He was such a polarizing person in the history of Liberace, but they weren't dicks about it, which really surprised me, and it was really impressed me actually, because a lot of the Liberace fans were saying, he ruined Liberace, he destroyed his reputation, and it wasn't a pleasant thing that he did. It wasn't a nice thing he did at all. It was vindictive to a degree. I mean, if he was supposed to be supported, and Liberace promised him, then there's an element of, well, he is legitimately entitled to file a lawsuit about it. It wasn't like he was filing the lawsuit just to tell everyone Liberace was gay. He was doing it to get compensation that he thought he deserved. So, and he always said really nice things. Well, he said a lot of things about Liberace afterwards, but there were a lot of people that paid him for interviews too, where he said some pretty fascinating things. But the Liberace Foundation, I was really impressed. They said he was a polarizing person, and no one will really know the whole story, but we have in our archives pretty much the whole story that is better than anyone else, and we will do something with that one day. So they're supposed to, Liberace people are supposed to do something on Scott Thorson. That would be very, very interesting. Oh, the Wonderland documentary is out. Where is it? Oh, is it on something I have to subscribe to? I was going through my subscriptions. Jesus, my God, the amount of subscriptions I have, and there's still so many things I can't watch because I don't subscribe to them. Hello from the Netherlands. You know where I can find a picture of actor Cameron Mitchell's house? No, no, I can't. I don't know. I mean, I would just go searching. There's some elements, some places I would try, but I couldn't tell you off the top. Ricardo, you asked about my next TV appearance. There is one coming up actually. There's a show called Famously Haunted, and it's on Tubi. And they have an episode of it out now. It's on the Amityville Horror, but the one I'm on is called. I had to write it down. Famously Haunted Hollywood, and it's gonna be on Tubi on October 9th. October 9th. And it said behind Hollywood's iconic landmarks lie a realm of eerie legends and ghostly tales. Discover the chilling stories of Tinseltown's most haunted sites. I think I shot that last year. So yeah, but that's a new show that I did October 9th. And if you get a chance, if you have Fox Nation, I don't know, like some guys are, that's like a that's like a trigger word, but the Menendez documentary I did on Fox Nation, I thought was pretty good. I was happy with that. I thought it was a really well done documentary. The prosecutor was a scream. She was great. She was saying, I got, if I'd have known when I signed up that day, I was a public prosecutor, I think, or something. She goes, I would have just not showed up to work that day if I'd had known. And she called them the Menendi, which was sort of funny, but she had no time for anything about, she was being paid for the interview, but she was really snarky and funny. I liked her a lot. What's an item that you wish you had? Well, I've always said this would be the Cielo drive door. That's one thing. That's probably the one thing I've always wanted. Lots of things I want, but I thought that the Cielo drive door, the front door, I call it the pig door. Not very nice, but that's just why it's known, and that's what I wish I had. That's the one thing I thought would eventually, may still one day end up in our possession. But yeah, that's what I wish. Mar Marganiful, watching for years, find death. Read every single entry. Unfortunately, thank you, thank you. Well, hopefully the museum will open. I'm getting tired of saying that, but hopefully, who knows? No, never had our stuff appraised because nobody was going to take what we have seriously. Angela, you were saying about having our things insured. The stuff that we have receipts for, but nobody's going to value, a car wreck at what it's worth to us. So no, the stuff that we have, God forbid something terrible happen. Hopefully it won't. We're going to get reimbursed for that. No. Oh, Tinker Toy 701, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy doing well. Is the Cecil Hotel currently closed? I don't know if it's currently closed now. I heard that, but then I watched something on YouTube, or I started watching something, and it looked like they had residents. So I haven't done a deep dive into that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's open or not. Your interview vlog with Steve Liberace's. Thank you. I'm glad you liked that interview. Lisa, thank you very much for the tip. I appreciate that. Michelle Triola. Wow, yeah, that was a name I hadn't thought of in a long time. Palimony, right? Lee Marvin's wife. That was something else. What was I watching the other day about I was talking to Todd Fisher about Debbie Reynolds and the the alimony and the guys have ripped her off, and what a terrible story. You heard that Jay Sebring was even supposed to be in LA that weekend? I don't know. I don't know. He had a salon here in Palm Springs, but I think that's gone too. We looked up the address, and it doesn't look like it's the authentic one. Wonderland is on Max or $3.99. Is that amazing? You got to pay all that money, and then you got to pay more to that. Oof. But yeah, I guess it's less than a movie ticket. Where would you put the door? Well, the door would be put on display somewhere. Elton John used to own the house. Yeah, I think he did, or he rented it. I think it was owned by an entertainment company, and I know that like Elton lived there for a while because they they found Eric's adult magazines of a male theme when they were doing the searching the house, and he said they were Elton John's Left Him Behind, which I thought that was kind of funny. But Nicole Simpson was friends with, gosh, how did that even? There's a degrees of separation. Kardashians. I think it was the Link family who owned it after that. Somehow or another, Nicole Simpson's bridal shower or baby shower was held in the Menendez house. I know that Annie Lennox was there for dinner with the Menendez family once. I think Sylvester Stallone, because he was Carol Co. Productions and Jose was Carol Co. Productions for a while. So it's kind of interesting, but I do believe that it was Nicole Simpson's baby shower that was held in the room where the murders happened, where Mr. and Mrs. Menendez were murdered. Have I ever visited the Red Fox restaurant where Hoffa disappeared? I have, actually. I've not been in it, but I did visit it. I took pictures of it. I'm caught up. Where's my favorite? What's your favorite hat? Could be my Zoltar hat, maybe. Could be that one. Could be my Men Without Hats hat. Let's see. I think I have my list here of stuff that Sebring. FindItThat.com. Don't forget, FindItThat.com is got. I just uploaded the Pee Wee Herman story. October 9th, Famously Haunted on Tubi. And Betty White, Josh. Yeah, I think I got them all. I think I ticked off all my topics on my list. If you have any other, I'll hang out for a little while longer. But let's see, Movie Geeks. Hey, Movie Geeks. Oh, I missed their comment actually. There you go. Do you have any way of finding out who lived at the address in 74? Yeah, I do. I don't know. You'd have to email me that. I have a few sources that I could check. So yeah, but email me. You got my email. I know you do. Debbie Reynolds was the best. I do know. No, I don't know where the door is, Thelma. I do know that someone has it who I'm glad has it. I know it's not going to end up in some, with somebody painting Manson's eyes on him or something like that. The people that got it know what it is and understand the significance of it. So I can say that I'm happy with where it ended up for the time being. Like I say, I wish it would end up with me. And that sounds gross too, but I've talked about this before. It's like I'm not going to go in a bidding war over it because morally, I would like to have it. I would protect it, and I feel like it would be in the right home. But scrambling for money to try to cover the cost of it would that was something I couldn't get into. Something like that. I don't know. Where do you draw your lines? I've got blurry lines. You guys know that I have very blurry lines. But I'm comfortable in my own skin. I do what I do. I don't have a line that this is what I absolutely do and what I don't do, but I go with the flow and I go with what I trust. Mike and I, what we've been doing, because we have a separate Patreon page for the podcast, and since we're not able to, because he's got so many things going on, I have so many things going on, it's hard for us to sit down and do all the research and then do like a whole podcast on it. So what we're doing for the Patreon page, the people who are already subscribed to it, we put out every couple of weeks, we do an obituary one, about an hour long, about people who have died, and we just banter for a while. So that is, but it's like a $2 a month thing that you have to sign up for. $2 anyway. That's not a lot of money. But that's because it costs, it takes our time, and it's so if you wanted to, it's like $2 or something like that to join up to the Dearly Departed podcast Patreon page. That's there. What's my favorite cemetery to visit? I love Highgate. I like that place we went to in Alaska. I like Highgate in London. I think it's probably my favorite, but I liked it better when it was decrepit, growing over and roots poking through graves and knocked over tombstones. Not it just for the atmosphere. If it was my parents' tombstone, that'd be a whole different thing. But the atmosphere of Highgate when I went there the first time in the mid '80s, I loved it. Loved it. Troy's doing great. Troy's in the other room now, probably watching this, making sure that I don't make an idiot out of myself. Do I believe Jerry Lewis was the awful person as he's reputed to be? Yes. Movie Geeks, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Jeffrey. Hey, Jeff. I'm sorry, but what was the website you mentioned before the Tubi show? I didn't hear what you said. I'm not sure, but the Tubi is with the documentary. I'm going to be on that Hollywood Haunted. What's it called again? Famously Haunted, October 9th on Tubi. I see somebody asking about a particular. Do I believe in lizard people? I don't know enough. I don't know enough to say, but I know what to think. Do I think Eddie Mannix was involved with the two bullets? George Reeves, I think you mean, not Christopher Reeves. Do I think Eddie Mannix was involved? Probably. I mean, it was, yeah, probably. It's a deep dive question. It's hard to get into, but George Reeves, who played Superman in the 50s on television, was, shotgun wounded or bullet wound to the head is how he died. And he was having an affair with Eddie Mannix's wife, Tony. So it's logical that Eddie Mannix was involved somehow. Jerry Lewis disinherited all his sons. Didn't Bing Crosby do that too? I something like that, or he put it in a trust till like they're 50 or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go look at that. I've been on here for an hour now. Yeah, Jason, we talked about that already. The Matthew Roberts, I think, is who you're talking about. Irene Soderbergh was close friends with Bob Estes, who was close friends with Rudy Attabelli and stayed at his house. Irene was a beloved figure in Palm Springs. Bob Estes, I knew him. I think I'm a Facebook friend, or was a Facebook friend of his. And I asked him about that because he was friends with John Waters and he knew David Lockery too. But yeah, interesting. He's buried at Hollywood Cemetery too. We just saw him the other day when we found the Pee Wee one. Can I read a ghost story for Halloween? I don't think anybody likes me reading stories, but maybe I'll find one that's in public domain. Hey, Ed in Hollywood. Have I gotten over paper straws? No. Chester Bennington. If I get an opportunity to do something like that, I probably would. Do I think that Quentin Tarantino is indeed retiring? No, I don't think Quentin will retire. I think he won't do, maybe he won't do movies, but he'll do television. He'll do episodic television or he'll write. So I don't think he'll retire. Maybe he'll do guest, you know, like Alfred Hitchcock presents or something like that. I think he's not going to go away, but he says he's done after 10 feature films is what he said. So does Palm Springs have many haunted or supernatural sites like Los Angeles? No, it doesn't. No, I know very little about any kind of ghosts in Palm Springs. I know there's a bit of true crime, but not supernatural stuff. No. Have I ever been on the old Chaplin Studios? Yes, I've been on the Chaplin Studios on La Brea, which was the old A&M Records, which is now the Jim Henson Company, is supposedly haunted by Charlie Chaplin and Karen Carpenter. They say because Carpenters recorded all their music there, and so yeah. Oh, Stacy, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the tip. I do. uh, da, da, da. Wow, you guys are so kind. Thank you, Stacy, Laura. Hey, you guys by the fire tonight? And Marcy, thank you very much. You guys are all so very, very kind. Oh, did Dorothy ask something? Because somebody said, "Good question, Dorothy." Oh, here you go. You mentioned a while ago about doing a video on Benedict Canyon. Any more thoughts on that? Um, it's going to be a big project. That's what would be difficult. But I could just hear rattle on about it, but I really wanted to go out there and do it, and document all the things. But it'd be something it should do because I have all the information and I've just been adding to it. So it is something I should do. What's my favorite Carpenter song? Goodbye to Love, 100%. I think that is one of the most. I think it's one of the best songs. It's one of my favorite songs ever. It's such a. It's a song that's incredible. What do you think about the Illuminati being? No, I can't go there. Sorry, no disrespect intended, but that's a whole different thing. Oh, Indigo, hello. Bing's wife did die this week. That's right, she did. Any swingers houses in your neighborhood like Palm Springs? No, not in this neighborhood. Pretty quiet here. That's right. Alpha Dog was Palm Springs. That's right. That story was Palm Springs. I saw it once, and I don't remember. David Monk, yes. David, you mentioned the movie Land directed by E.J. Fleming. Um, yeah, EJ was a buddy. He was such a good guy. And reading his book right now called Death of an Altar Boy, which is mind blowing. EJ's great. I miss him. He was a great guy to bounce stuff off of, and we were always hitting each other up for information. They do have Palm Springs as a Del Taco. They don't have a Kentucky Fried Chicken, but I think you guys might have seen them. I'm kind of gone off the Kentucky Fried. I'm sort of done. I think. I like more about the Colonel Sanders stuff, though. I'm more about the branding of it. I miss, I love KFC, but it's changed, and so is all of that. That's right. The Henson Studios. You're right, Cindy, is up for sale. Actually, the Jim Henson Company. So who knows what'll happen to that? How big was Yvette Vickers' house? It was not big at all. It was not big at all. Uh, it was a weird house, like little room, then the second floor, little room, and then the third floor. That was a weird house, like a tree house. It was literally built on a house on a hill, and in the middle of like a forest. It was not that big. Where did we just see her? And we just saw her in a movie the other day. Debbie Reynolds. What's the matter with Helen? Or Shelley Winters and Debbie Reynolds, and Yvette Vickers had a bit part in that. Just she was an extra in it, but Troy recognized her. Lil Milky, a Palm Springs Airbnb without a privacy fence. There's something going on there. Have you ever met Anton LaVey? No. Little bucket, perfect. All right. I know it was in Betty White's will that her house had to be torn down, but why did she want it that way? That's the question. That's the question. I do. If you go to my last video on Betty White, you can see a link in the description of the video, my Betty White video, that you can buy a piece of Betty's house. You can still buy pieces of the Tate house. You have pieces of the Mansfield car. I mean, literally pieces of these things that are available. Pieces of one of the buildings that was featured in Pretty Woman. Um, I just the pieces, the little pieces of the Hindenburg. I have tons of stuff that I cracked up. I mean, these are the real things because if I ran out, like I had Lucy's brick, a brick from Lucy's house, and I was selling pieces of that, and I ran out. We're done. You know, we don't. They're not making them anymore. I'm not going to make something up. So Betty's bits are there, and the Cielo Drive Sharon's stones are there, and so there's a lot of stuff on dearlydepartedtours.com. If you go to the shop page, you can see that kind of stuff if you are so interested. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. So I'll look for a Halloween story to read if I can find something. Oh, Cat, thank you very much. Have I been to the Cabazon dinosaurs lately? I passed by there the other day, but no, I haven't been up to them in a while. But the dinosaurs are still there. Betty White's mailbox is not. I still hope to do the Abigail Folger video. Oh, Mickey, you got a potty mouth. My first concert was at Farm Aid. Okay, I'm gonna go, you guys. Uh, thanks for joining me, and thank you guys so much for you guys who have supported me by throwing a few bucks my way. I sure appreciate it. It's a wild job to have now, and I appreciate you coming out here and spending time with me. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care, you guys, and happy rest of September.